Welcome back to Hobbies by Holly. This week's project are these cute nightstands I found at Goodwill for only $12.99 each. They were in rough condition, but I knew I had to have them. The brand was Tell City Chair Company, and I could tell that they were solid wood, so decided to take my chances and buy them. Tell City built furniture for over 140 years, and they were pieces meant to be passed down and not thrown away. Okay, these are nightstands that I got at Goodwill, and they definitely they need some work, but I can tell that they're solid wood. So first I'm going to just do a very thorough clean, and then I'm going to strip the tops, see what kind of wood it looks like underneath, and go from there. I'll definitely be painting the body, but we'll see about the tops if I can preserve them. So let's get to work cleaning. So for those considering buying furniture that's already painted, there's some things that you really want to consider first. So when I first started inspecting these nightstands more closely, I realized just how bad the previous paint job was. And it wasn't even a clean paint job. There were brush bristles painted right into it. So lesson number one, when you buy something already painted, it's not coming to you as a blank canvas. You're going to be starting behind, and you definitely factor that into your time. And then there are many repairs. As you can see here, I am gluing some of the broken legs using a clamp. They were missing all their original floor protectors, so I added new ones on. And then it was time for sanding, and this was what I was excited about because I could tell that this was going to be beautiful solid wood underneath, and I knew I wanted to preserve that top. So once I got into the sanding though, I just realized how much work was ahead of me. I started with 80 grit, and because that paint was super stuck on, there was no gentle approach here. I went over the entire body with my orbital sander. Then I got out my mouse detail sander for all the detailed areas. And then for the spindle legs, I used my sanding sponge on the orbital to get into all those curves and grooves. So I just continued sanding for a good 2 hours. It was not a quick and easy job, especially when you're dealing with a bad previous paint job. So while I was sanding these nightstands, I noticed that it's missing a little piece right here. So if you look on this side from an angle, you see how it has the little slope. But this side, there's no slope. It just is flat. So a piece is missing right here. So I did a little research and ordered a silicone kit. So I'm going to make a mold to match this side. So I'll show you how I do it. So I just went on Amazon and I found this kit that was fairly reasonable, a little over $20. So I can definitely use it for future projects, and let's see how it goes. Here are the instructions, and it basically says, it looks like you don't even need gloves. This is safe for your hand. So it says measure the equal amounts of part A and part B. So I'm just gonna need a little bit here. So let's see, I'm gonna do a little bit of this one. And like I said, this is something I'll be able to use for future projects too. Okay, I feel like these are equal. Now, mix and knead the putty together until a uniform blue color is achieved. So we'll mix it together. Okay, so once it's all blue, what I need to do is press it into this area down here that I'm trying to make the mold of. So let's get it down there. And that's gonna be making my mold. Okay, now I need to let it cure for 20 minutes and then remove it. So it's been more than 20 minutes. It's probably been over an hour now. So hopefully I can still get this off. Okay, here we go. So we got the little groove in here. I need this part specifically right here. So next up is fill it up with Bondo wood filler. Let's test it on the side that I made the mold. and that should work. So I mixed up my Bondo wood filler and filled in that little part and then attached it onto the leg. And I will say this is something you probably want to let dry, maybe even overnight, because you want to make sure that it's completely dried beforehand. Then it was time to do some more touch-ups. There was another part of the drawer that needed a little gluing. So I did that and clamped it. And on the legs where I had previously glued them, you could see little cracks. So I took some caulk and rubbed it in to fill in those cracks. And then you can just wipe it off with a wet paper towel while it's still wet. So then it was time to take the resin mold off. And I still wanted to let it dry overnight, but was curious to see how it looked. And it looked pretty good. I was happy with it. Then it was time to focus on the top again and to ensure when you're staining wood to get a very smooth finish, you need to go through all the grits, starting with 120 all the way through 220. I decided to go with my hickory gel stain for this one. Gel stain sits on the top, so it's a little more forgiving should you have any blotchiness, which I could kind of see some on the tops of these. So I figured gel stain was the best way to go. So you just add it on and then wipe off any residue and make sure you get into all those little edges. I let the top dry overnight and then protected it with saran wrap, and then it was finally time to prime. It took quite a while to get to this point. So I applied 2 coats of Ben Shellac primer, and I always do a light sanding in between coats. For paint, I went with Caviar by Sherwin-Williams. It's their emerald urethane trim enamel. I had used this on a previous project and really liked it. I have had a few issues with some orange peel in the past, so I wanted to be really intentional this time about doing a very light first coat rather than trying to get full coverage in one pass. Once I was done with the sprayer, I always manually paint the areas that are hard to reach with a paintbrush. In between the first and second coats of the Caviar, I sanded with a 320 grit sanding sponge. This is important because any little nodules or any extra pieces that might be on there, you want to smooth out completely so you get that nice smooth finish in the end. Once the body was dry, I removed the saran wrap to reveal those beautiful gel stained tops. And it was time to add the hardware back, and I added a new set of champagne bronze bar pulls. I thought those blended well with the Caviar and the hickory gel stain tops. And here they are, Tell City nightstands, $12.99 each at Goodwill. Caviar black body, preserved and stained solid wood tops, and fresh hardware. I'm really happy with how they turned out, but I do have a few takeaways. And one being that when you buy furniture that's already painted, you're not starting with a blank canvas. And then the second thing is budget a lot more time and factor that into what you're willing to pay for the piece. These were definitely worth every hour because the bones are incredible with the solid wood dovetail drawers, but go in with your eyes open when you buy something already painted. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for new transformations every week. See you next week.